They want me to give them that magic bullet, that secret marketing tactic, or some Illuminati secret that hasn't been revealed that they can take, go home, duplicate it, and see the same results. And it doesn't work that way. The answer is different for everybody. Hey, y'all, hey! All right, wow, hey, family. It is great to be back home. The last time I was at a TSP event in person was in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And it's amazing to see how much it has grown, and it's just a great feeling to be back. So thank y'all for the welcome. Thank you, Ronnie and Lamar, for inviting me back to speak. I have a lot that I packed in here, so I'm gonna dive right in. My name is Nicole Brown. I'm the founder of Izzy and Live. I have 4 children. They are ages 8, 12, 18, and 21. My oldest is about to graduate from Yale in May. Very proud. Okay. I started this business in 2015. Let me get my slides together. And every year, the last 8 years, except for 2 of them, I have experienced periods of what people call massive exponential growth, okay? So 2015, I did $50,000 in sales. In 2016, I did $500,000 in sales. 2017, $2.8 million in sales. Up until that point, I was a solopreneur. I had no team, I had no office. I had 1 virtual assistant who was answering customer service tickets. 2018, that's when I started hiring for the first time, did $5.8 million in sales. 2019, kind of stayed steady, 5.5. Then 2020, did 7.5. 2021, 9.5, and then in 2022, had a little drop. That's all right, 8.5. So I've actually done $39.5 million of sales in the last 8 years. I rounded up to 40, so I say $40 million in sales. So one of the questions that I get a lot when I'm around other entrepreneurs is, what is it that you did that has allowed you to achieve some of the revenue numbers that you have gotten to? And I always hate that question. And the reason why I hate that question is because it is a complicated question for which, for the most time, when people ask that, they're looking and hoping for a simple answer, right? They want me to give them that magic bullet, that secret marketing tactic, or some Illuminati secret that hasn't been revealed that they can take, go home, duplicate it, and see the same results. And it doesn't work that way. The answer is different for everybody. The other reason why I don't like that question is because when people ask me that, they're asking me that because this is what they see. They see the sales, they see, I've been in retail, TJ Maxx, Macy's, all those things. And the assumption is that because I've reached certain levels in my business revenue-wise, that I've cracked the code, I've got it all figured out, I have all the answers. And the truth is that I don't. I never have. I have made so many mistakes along the way. I have failed so many times, and there's a lot of things that I did not know until I got to that point, and I was forced to figure it out. I'm very aware of the fact that for most of us in this room, we have big dreams of where we want our business to go, right? We have 6-figure dreams, 7-figure dreams, 8-figure dreams, right? But are you prepared for it when you get there, right? What are the things that you are doing today that are building a solid foundation for your future business to stand on securely, right? So when I thought about all the things that I could talk to you about today, I said, I could talk to you about how to add a recurring revenue model to your business, how to build a community, how to source products, deal with supply chain, logistics, all those things. But I decided I'm not going to talk to you about any of those things, sorry, You can catch me later if you have questions about those things. Because I think that the most value that I can give you today is the value of transparency. And so I am going to answer this question at the end, because there actually is a secret to how I've been able to achieve the levels of revenue that I've achieved. But before we get there, I want to take a little walk down memory lane, if you will indulge me, and talk about some of the biggest mistakes that I've made in building, growing, and scaling my business, some of the lessons that I've learned, and I'm going to blaze through them because I don't have a lot of time and I got to watch the clock. All right? And my hope is that there is something in some of the lessons that I've learned that resonate with you, that you think about, that maybe you haven't thought about, that you go back and you look into being prepared for. Because I wasn't prepared for a lot of things, right? Sometimes most of us, even myself, we make the dollar, chasing the money, the first priority, when actually it might need to be the last, right? And I achieved all of this revenue before I prepared for it. And I paid the price many times for it. And so I want to do for you what I didn't have anybody in my circle at the time who could, do for me. All right, so let's get into it. You all ready? This is what I like to call some of my greatest hits. And by hits, I mean slaps to the face and punches to the gut. All right. That time that an employee accidentally marked products in a promo collection down to $1. Oh, you thought I was going to start off light? Thought we were going to ease into this? No, straight no chaser. All right, so had a sale, was doing great. I said to this employee, hey, this sale's doing so good, I want to extend it. Extend it a couple of days. She's like, all right, got you. Next day, I'm driving into work. She calls me, panicked. Oh my God, Nicole, I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to fix it. All the things with daughter, I'm trying to fix it. Pull over into a parking lot, whip out my laptop, and I open Shopify and I see order after order after order. 50 items in an order, 100 items in an order, 20 items in an order. Literally the digital version of looting, right? Horrible. All right, they were having a field day. This is visual representation of it. All right, pause there. That same, like in that same year, okay, I have a subscription box. We give them a t-shirt or some type of apparel item every month, including 5 other items. This month, I think it was Women's History Month, we had a t-shirt where we had names of famous Black women. And one of the names was misspelled. Nobody on my team, probably 5 or 6 people saw that shirt. Nobody noticed it. You know who did notice it? My customers. They noticed it. Long story short, had to reprint them, mail them out, cost me $40,000 to fix that error. All right, what's the lesson in that? Why did those things happen? Because I didn't have processes, right? The first 3 years of my business, it was just me. I didn't need to write anything down. I knew what to do. I was doing everything. What I need to tell myself what to do is in my head, right? I figured by the time I need to write processes down, I'll do it when I need to do it. By the time I was hiring people, I got a dry mouth. Can I get water? By the time I started hiring people, the train was moving so fast that I was just chasing it, right? I'd already hit 3 million before I hired my first employee. So I didn't have time to stop and go back and document, right? So what happens when you don't document things? Number one, the default becomes you. So everything fell back on me, the things that I didn't document, right? The employee who wrote things down to $1, my assumption is like, this is a no-brainer. It's a 2-second job. Just change the date, right? Her mind was some convoluted, complicated things. She had created an app, then she duplicated the offer, that duplicated the sale on top of the sale. And really, thank you so much. 1 second, y'all. That's so much better. Thank you. All right. So the things that I took for granted were like common knowledge, made common sense. They weren't, her mind thought was different. Her mind worked differently, right? And so it was really my fault for not documenting the most efficient way to get it done, right? When we had the t-shirt misprint, 5 different people saw it, but there's no documentation that says whose job is it to do quality assurance? Whose job is it to read it? So everybody was looking at it, but they were looking at different things, right? Nobody was their specific job to make sure. I mean, really, come on, like somebody should have caught it, but I can't blame them. I didn't have the processes. So if I could go back, when I was a solopreneur, I would be documenting everything that I'm doing. I would be recording myself, talking to myself, writing it down, and just doing it as I go along, so that when I started hiring my team, I was already prepared for them, right? All right. That time that I made my first hires, entry level, because I was intimidated by the responsibility of payroll, and I lacked confidence in my ability to manage them. I had never managed anybody before, right? In my corporate career, I managed work. I never managed a person. I never had a direct report. So I wasn't confident in that. I didn't know what kind of manager I was going to be. So I thought, you know what? Let me baby step it. I'm going to hire like junior level people, get my feet wet, see how it goes, and then I'll add, the higher level people after, right? The other thing is though, even though I had made millions before I hired people, there was a different level of pressure and responsibility that I felt, knowing that before, when it was just me, I wasn't really chasing money, right? Like I was living my passion, serving my audience, right? And if I made money, great. If I didn't, I'd be good. I'm in a 2-income household. My husband works, I'd be fine, right? I knew that once I hired people, I had to make the money, right? And so I was worried about that. And so I live in New Jersey, cost of living is high. I'm like, I ain't hiring no 6-figure people right now. I'm gonna hire junior level people. What that did was, you hire people to take things off of your plate, and instead I hired more things on my plate, right? Because everybody needed something from me. Everybody needed me for everything. And I'm extremely introverted. I need to recharge. But I wasn't even thinking about even the day-to-day things that bringing on a team would need. Like, they needed me for everything. Like, Nicole, we ran out of toilet tissue. Nicole, I'm locked out of my email. Can you help me reset it? Nicole, I ain't like what so-and-so said to me. Now I gotta be a mediator between 2 people. And it's draining, right? I go home, it's mommy, mommy, mommy. I go to work, it's Nicole, Nicole, Nicole. I'm introverted, leave me alone. I need a break. It was draining, right? So, if I could do it over again, I would hire to my weakness. One of my weaknesses is I am a decent manager. That's not my strength, right? Maybe I should have hired an operations manager, a chief of staff, something like that. And also, I hired people who were doers and not thinkers. So I had to say, do this, do that, then do this, then do that. Don't forget to clean behind your ears, then do that, right? So I would hire another thinker. I would have hired a marketing director, a CMO, something like that. Because when you think that you're saving money, right, you lose in time. And as far ahead as I am in my business, what kills me is I know for a fact I would be so much further right now than I am if I had made the right choices in building my team from the beginning. And that kills me. Don't be like me. All right. That time, this is the last employee team thing. That time, 2 employees foolishly recorded themselves talking ish about me on a Zoom call. So, one day we have team meetings. All of our meetings are recorded. Oh my gosh, my time. All of my meetings are recorded, okay? So I have to drop off the staff call. It's 15 minutes left. Later on that night, I said, let me go and see what I missed. I opened the call and I'm like, dang, this call went on long, right? I thought I missed the last 15 minutes. So I'm thinking, look at my team putting in that work, right? They love to collaborate. Go team, And then I play it. And eventually everybody had dropped off the call. These 2 knuckleheads are left on there, and they're complaining about this, they're complaining about that, they're talking about this employee that they can't stand, and then they get to me. And they're talking about me like I done stole the man and slapped the babies in the face or something. Like the disrespect, okay? And I'm crushed. I'm so hurt. Because I'm like, what did I ever do to them? Right? Like, what did I do to you? I'm kind, I'm not a devil's real prototype person, right? I have this vision of like having this utopia with all these employees, these black women, you know, all together, and this is what you think of me, right? I felt betrayed almost, right? So I sent him an email, and I say, it's like 7 o'clock at night, I say, it was a meeting request. I say, hey team, you know that little red dot on the calls that says recording? That means recording. Here's a link to the call if you need it. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night. Sleep tight. Well, listen, don't clap for me because I fumbled it. I fumbled it because I was mad when I sent it. I was like, I'm gonna get them. Then I got into my head. I started thinking about all the reasons why I shouldn't fire them. All the reasons why, like, oh, I don't want to seem like I'm, letting my ego take over. I don't want to seem like I'm retaliating. What are my other employees going to think if I let them go? How am I going to explain it to them, right? Well, maybe they were just blowing off steam. All these things, right? And, one of them had been working for me for a year. The other one had only been working for me for about 3 months. It's like you didn't even work for me long enough to be disgruntled. What the hell, right? So, long story short, I have the meeting with them, and I feel like it's a come to Jesus meeting. I feel like, they thought they were going to be fired. I didn't fire you. You got a new lease on life, and I'm thinking they're going to appreciate that. They're going to work harder, right? Right? They're going to value me, right? They're going to see that I gave them grace, right? Wrong, right? One of them, it just made her more emboldened, more brazen. She felt like where I was giving grace, she felt like, oh, you must really need me. You can't fire me, right? Or you don't have the guts to fire me, right? So, long story short, I ended up having to fire her like a couple months later. But lessons in that, and then the other one ended up leaving. Lessons in that. So the one that had been working for me for a year, there have been red flags with her for a while, right? She didn't like to be criticized. She didn't like to be told, that she doesn't know. She didn't be questioned. But I would constantly overlook them, be diplomatic about it, not address it, right? And then this new person came, they worked together. So how does somebody who's only working for you for 3 or 4 months get disgruntled so quickly? Because I had a bad apple. Right? Negativity is contagious, right? So, lessons in that, fire fast. That's the hardest thing for me. I also struggle with the fact that I have a business that is to celebrate and uplift black women, and here I am getting ready to fire another black woman. I still struggle with that. I'm getting better at it, but I still struggle with that, right? Give yourself permission to make mistakes, make a bad decision. Doesn't mean you have to live with it forever, right? Like, if you make the wrong decision with hiring, it's okay to move on, right? And confront issues head on. One of my biggest weaknesses is that I will not address something in the moment. I'll say I'll do it later. Later comes, I'm too busy, I forget about it. Then it happens again. I don't address it right there. If I don't address it right then I move on until I'm fed up. And then the person's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you know what you've been doing, right? But I didn't address it, right? I try to avoid it and keep going. So that's another lesson. All right, moving on. I know Delmar's coming up. All I can do is tell you the things that I did wrong. She's gonna come and get you together and tell you how to do it right, okay? So take copious notes. All right, that time I purchased goods from an acquaintance with a homemade agreement and other adventures in trying to be my own lawyer. When I started off, right? Somebody liked that one, right? All right, when I started off, anything that I needed, I would look for a template on Google. Purchase order, independent contractor agreement, influencer agreement, like all the things, everything Google. And, I find a template, had big words, looked legal, switch things up, throw my logo on it. If it's good enough for Google, it's good enough for me, right? So, I had an acquaintance, actually somebody, I used to have a website for Black women back in the day. She wrote for it. Fast forward, she wrote a book. So she said, you know, hey, I'm gonna have this book and put it in the box. Let's put it in the box, in my box. So I put it in the box, I did the purchase order, put it in the box. That purchase order I had used a couple times before, no issues. So 2 weeks before it's supposed to be due, she's supposed to deliver, she says, I wasn't able to find somebody to print them, so you know, I have to do it overseas, or if I do it domestically, you're gonna have to pay me like twice as much. Either way, you'll get them between 2 and 3 months from now. So I say, oh, no, that's not how this works, right? You're gonna have to refund me my deposit, right? I gotta now go scramble and find something else last minute. She goes, I don't do refunds. I said, what? She said, I don't give money back. You're gonna get it in 3 months. I said, no. You're gonna run me my money back, right? Right, that's not how this works. It's not going down like that. You're gonna give me my refund. She pulled the usher on me. She was like, watch this. Peace. I'm not giving you nothing back. I said, oh my God, we know each other. You know, we were cool. I have ordered from strangers in other countries, and they haven't done me dirty. Yet, that's coming. This is how you're gonna do me? So I fired my lawyer, Google Esquire, and I got a real lawyer who actually passed the bar, all right? And she looked at my agreement, and she goes, Nicole, you have no protections in this agreement, right? You don't have anything that outlines what happens if there's a breach. You have these boxes that you have to deliver by a certain time every month. You don't have a time as of the essence, plus all these things. You're right. However, you've left so much ambiguity in this contract that you can go back and forth. By the time you come to an agreement, the money that you want to get back from her, you would have spent trying to fight her. I said, I'll be damned. So I canceled the order, but I never got my refund back from her, never heard from her again, never saw her again, right? But she did me a favor. I would never tell her that if I see her, it's on site, but I'm just kidding, I don't fight. Well, not with my fist, okay? And so, but she did me a favor because of that, from that point on, every single thing, I don't care what it is, I have my lawyer look at it, I have contracts, she makes sure that my interests are protected, all of my purchase orders have been rewritten, I have NDAs, everything. I don't care if it's an offer letter, everything is reviewed, right? You cannot copy and paste the nuances of your business, right? Get a lawyer. If there are lawyers in the house, raise your hand. Find them. You need to get you one of them, okay? Protect yourself, all right? I don't care who you're dealing with, your cousin, your uncle, right? When it comes to business and money, some people will morph on you like a Power Ranger. You will not recognize them, okay? Look, they'd be like, Mighty Morphin? I don't know you, son. What money? All right. Moving on. The time I paid in full for 2,000 units, and instead of getting my products, I got. Ordered from somebody in China, paid them in full, disappeared. That's the story. Put a pin in it, okay? This is somebody that I hadn't ordered from before. Another time, I had a vendor that I actually had a relationship with. I had ordered probably prior to this incident, probably like $200,000 with them in the time that I worked with them. We put, this month we had 4 leggings that we put in a box, 4 prints. One of them was a tribal print. During the production process, the prints come, they look good, we approve it for mass production. My warehouse is like 3 hours at the time from my office, so we are not where our product's delivered. We're thinking it's all good, the boxes go out. I look in the group because I get excited, like, okay, what do they think about the boxes? And I'm seeing this legging print that's not our print. So our print was tribal. It had giraffes, elephants, drums, a profile of a black woman with a head wrap. And the leggings that the 1/4 of my customers got had dogs, snowflakes, a little Barbie-like girl, like obviously white girl with a point, like, I'm like, what happened? Horrible. Like, my customers still refer those leggings as the Becky leggings. All right, so what happened was I have NDAs with my vendors. There's a vendor in China. You can't take my designs. You can't resell my designs. That vendor recreated my designs with the intent of selling them and mixed them up. All right? So what I learned from those two things: implement procedures that protect you and your interest and give you leverage when dealing with vendors, especially with vendors overseas, right? Now, I don't pay for anything in full until I have it in my hands. I'll give you a deposit. Then when it's ready to ship, you need to show me pictures, video. I need to see all my boxes, labels on them. Then I give you another balance. And then I don't give you the rest until net 30 or net 60 ROG, which is receipt of goods, right? That gives me time to inspect, review, make sure you didn't short me, the quality's right? And if you try to play me, I'm not giving you that balance, right? If you short me, I'm taking it out of the balance. The first vendor that did me wrong, I didn't have that, I lost my money. This second vendor with the leggings, because I had that leverage, right, and I also had a history of ordering with her. She had other orders in the queue that she knew she was gonna lose. I had the balances. She had to pay for everything, reprinting the leggings, the cost that I had to ship the leggings, all of that had to be covered, okay? All right, oh my goodness, all right. I gotta blaze through because I'm looking at my time. All right, inventory. There have been times that I've had to donate inventory. I've had to liquidate inventory because when I didn't know about inventory management, right? So I would make my orders based on my assumptions of like what I thought I would sell, right? If I was ordering for my boxes, I would order for my boxes like 4 and 5 months in advance. So if today I had 10,000 subscribers, I'd say, I think by 4 months from now, I could be at 11 or 12 and I'd buy that, right? No, not looking at data, not looking at numbers, right? When I would buy by size, I would just split it like small, medium, large. Didn't look at my history of like what sizes are my customers actually purchasing, right? I didn't look at what was selling, what's not. I realized after a certain period of time, my customers didn't like the jewelry when we put jewelry in their box. But many times we kept giving them jewelry, and then we have left over and it's not selling. We didn't have to buy that if we looked at the data, look at the numbers, right? There are apps that also help you do that, right? In the beginning, you do have to guess because you don't have a sales history. But once you get that sales history, you need to be looking at that, looking at your seasonal trends. When are you up? When are you down, right? To avoid that, because when you have inventory just sitting and piling up, it is a cash flow drain, okay? All right, that time I had to, I thought about not sharing this with y'all because it's a doozy, but it's old business and it's important. So that time I had to burn through multiple 6 figures of business savings in a matter of months because of poor cash flow management and forecasting. I thought I had it good, right? Like I thought I was doing all the right things. I had an accountant doing my taxes. I had a bookkeeper that was, balancing, reconciling my books. They were doing the AP, right? I log into my bank account every morning. I have money in the bank. I look at my sales every day. I have sales coming in. What else is there, right? I'm good, right? And for a long time, I was good, right? Because everything was up, everything is flowing, right? But then, right, when the inventory starts piling up, right? I didn't know about churn. I have a long churn rate with my subscribers. They stay around for like 16, 17 months. So it took a while for me to start to see that. And then I was ordering too far ahead. I was not forecasting like what things I had to pay when. So I just pay it and not think about like, how is that gonna affect the future cash that I need, right? And my bookkeeper wasn't doing that. I mean, I'm not saying that bookkeepers don't, but mine wasn't. They didn't tell me about that stuff. So make sure that you have somebody on your money team that tracks that for you or helps you to understand those things, right? Because you could be making money, but really like not making money. That was the first year that I had no profit. Because every year before that, I would move what I wanted for profit automatically from my sales into profit. And for years prior, it was good. I always had profit. This year I didn't. It was the worst year, and I had to dig myself out of it, right? I didn't see it coming. I wasn't prepared because I didn't have the proper knowledge, and I didn't have the right people on my team to teach me this and to help me to make sure that I'm protecting my interests, okay? I know I see Ephraim over there. How many other tax people, raise your hands, right? Maybe post in the group. Y'all better get y'all one of them too, all right? So the lesson is what I just said. Your cash flow and cash cycle are the lifeblood of your business. I'm not a financial advisor, clearly, so I'm not going to really get into details. Find somebody to explain this stuff to you and help you. All right, we're going to skip this. All right, related, that time I thought it was a flex to pay for everything up front in cash myself and slept on lines of credit and other funding sources because I didn't need it. I didn't think I needed it. I'm making millions. I'm going to keep bootstrapping this thing. I don't need no money. Keep your money, right? Until I had that year where, like, the supply chain crisis, expenses were going up, right? Commodities were going up. It cost like 10 times as much to ship things, right? My expenses were that was draining, right? If I had sought out like a line of credit or even, I didn't know anything about investing. I needed Kim's presentation like a couple years ago, right? Any of those things, then I would have been in a better position, like that, having to pull from all, my savings, stuff like that, I wouldn't have had to do. And so don't sleep on that. When you're up, seek out those things, right? When you don't need it is when you should get it, right? When you don't need it. And if you don't need it, put it in the bank, save it, right? Pay it back and just keep it. I don't know. I'm not a financial person, so don't quote me, but, look into that too. All right. Growth eats cash and stuff happens. That's the lesson, okay? All right, last story time. This was a new one. This was last quarter. I got into a dispute with my 3PL. I was in I had an order with a major retailer, and my warehouse, unbeknownst to me, short-shipped it by 50%, and I didn't know it until the retailer started hitting me with chargebacks, right? And they had lost some of my inventory. I had to fly down, literally trying to find my stuff, and so I'm like, y'all are sending me bills. I'm not paying you a dime until I know what my damages are, right? So we're back and forth, and I also decided, okay, I'm going to leave them. When I have to leave, I have to move my inventory in stages. So I moved it in 4 stages. First 3 stages was fine, it was good. Then they got smart, and they said, hey, if you don't agree with us in these terms, we're not gonna ship this last batch of your inventory to you. And it is Q4, and this last year. And sales, my Q2 and Q3 weren't strong, right? So I had a whole plan for Q4, how I'm gonna make this back, right? I needed that inventory. I felt so dejected. I felt so defeated. I was like, dang, they got me. Like, what am I gonna do? All right? And then I realized, listen, I've had this feeling before, this feeling of like, wow, how am I gonna get out of this? How am I gonna survive this, right? But I pushed through and I figured out a way. So I didn't give in to them. I redid all of my plans for Q4, moved those items out, and I literally didn't sleep. I don't recommend that, but I didn't sleep. I was changing stuff constantly. Even on Black Friday, I woke up in the morning, I didn't like the numbers I was seeing, I changed the offer, right? I was like determined, like, y'all are not going to win, right? And I actually did better than what I had planned or thought I would do. And I would not have done as well if I didn't have that battery in my back, right? And so the lesson in this is that sometimes when you think things are insurmountable, it's only insurmountable if you choose not to mount it, okay? You are more resilient than you think you are. You really are, all right? So I told y'all that I was gonna tell you what the secret is to some of the success that I have achieved in my business in terms of revenue and sales, right? You can implement any number of countless marketing strategies and tactics. You can install all the apps and tools you can find. You can buy all the trainings and read all the books that you can get your hands on. You can hire the best talent money can buy. You can be the face of your brand, or you can stay behind the scenes. You can sell products, you can sell services, you can sell both. You can have a recurring revenue model or not. You can engage with some of the highest rated agencies to assist you. You can get an investor, grants, line of credit, or bootstrap it. You can write the most buttoned up business plan that you can write. Any combination of these things can work, and they will help, but none of these things will work or matter if you don't have this most important secret weapon in your arsenal. Y'all wanna know what that is? The secret weapon is you. That's it. That's the post. Sorry, nothing sexy. Y'all thought it was something. Y'all were like, oh, what is this gonna be good? All right, it's you, right? I have achieved the things that I have achieved in my business because I pushed through. Some of the biggest periods of growth and new opportunities and milestones in my business have come after I have pushed through and passed adversity, obstacles, disappointments, failures, fears. You cannot grow if you give up, okay? I have generated in 8 years $40 million, rounded up, in spite of setbacks, disappointments, failures, theft, employee infighting, inventory obsolescence, damages, cash flow constraints, uncertainty, anxiety, depression, right? Miscalculations, lost inventory, all the things, supply chain crisis. I can still stand here and say I have generated $40 million in sales in spite of these things. And you can do it too. Are you passionate? Right? The passion that you have for your business is what's going to keep you going, right? And your passion is not the money, right? That's your purpose. Like, what is your reason for existing, your business existing? Are you consistent? Are you persistent? Are you steadfast, resilient, reliable, faithful? Do you have faith in yourself? Right? Do you have the fortitude to face your fears and tackle adversity head on? I was on like Instagram a couple of months ago, and this guy was talking about bison. And he was saying that bison, when there's a storm, they instinctively know to go in the direction of the storm instead of away from it. And the reason why they go in the direction of it is because they know that they'll get out of the storm faster. If they go away from it, then the storm is going to be following them, and they're going to be in the storm longer, right? So I look it up, and I'm like, dang, is that true? I don't know anything about animals. And it is true. The other thing that they do is if they don't run towards the storm, they stop where they are, and they let the snow come, and they just stand still and let it pass, right? They do one of those two things, but they don't run. They don't run away from it, right? And I thought that was a good metaphor for business, and, you know, so that's why I put that in there. All right. All right, I want to just go through this real quick. So how do you push past your fears, right? Like, how do you get out of your head, right? We often look at other people for signs of validation that we can be confident in our decisions, and none of that matters. What matters is your faith in yourself and your belief in yourself, right? Don't let fear of failures hold you back. The worst is that you're going to have to feel it, right? So when I feel fear and I'm afraid of what's going to happen, I ask myself, what am I afraid of? What if that does happen, right? What if that does happen? How would I address it? How would I get out of it, right? And so if I know that even though my worst fear would happen, I will be able to figure out like how I would maneuver. It's not going to be the end of the world. That gives me more confidence to push forward even though I'm afraid, to push forward anyway, right? And the more that you do that, the more that you face challenges, the more that you slay dragons, the more confident that you're going to become. And the more that when you face bigger dragons, you're going to realize that like, hey, I can do this. I've done this before, right? Like with this 3PL issue that I had, I was like, I felt this before and I've gotten through it, right? And I know that whatever decisions I make, they're going to be based on what I know now, right? And that's okay. If tomorrow I know something different, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to make better decisions. And that's okay, right? And if I make wrong decisions, I'll fix it, right? I'll know how to do better next time. It's not the end of the world. Just keep going. All right. Get your mind right. I'm one who Oftentimes when people talk about mindset, I used to just like, my mind would wander because it would feel like some type of like magic thing, right? Like, if you believe, you can achieve, right? Like, just close your eyes and wish. That's what I thought, right? But the more I have gone on in my business, I realized that it really is mindset. And I had the mindset and I didn't realize it, right? I'm gonna skip these slides. One thing is, sorry, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of time left. I want to respect the clock. All right.
Think small.
Right.
We need to be thinking big.
You need to be thinking big.
You need to be thinking big.
All right. Think big. I cut it off right in time. All right. You gotta think big, right? One thing is that even when I first started off, I had a vision for the type of company that I wanted to be, and I always looked that way, acted that way, operated that way, even though I was small, right? I thought bigger, and I started off acting like with the mindset of a business that was where I wanted to be, right? Don't put limits on your growth, right? Linear growth is based on what you've done in the past. I honestly don't actually say, this is how much I want to make this year. I say, these are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to sow these seeds. I'm going to work hard. And however much that brings me is what it brings me. If I said, for example, when I was at 50,000 that first year, if I put a number on it, I probably would have said, okay, I want to get to 100. I didn't put a number on it. I just worked hard. And I said, whatever seeds that I sow, it's going to reap as much as possible, right? And I got to 5 million. Next year, I got to 2.8, right? Don't shackle yourself, right? Because a lot of times, you can achieve more than what you actually even think that's possible, right? So work backwards from it, right? Like the type of business that you want, the type of life that you want, right? Money is not the only goal, right? You know, happiness is important too. Like, what is your total, like what type of business you want? What do you want? How do you want it to serve you? That's all a part of growth. So a lot of people say, that business is like a roller coaster. So I saw this guy, and he does these things, he's on his roller coaster, and he keeps a straight face. He doesn't react to anything that's going on around him. And so I wanted to play this because I thought this was a great analogy for business, right? Look at this dude. He's cool, he's unbothered, right? All right, I gotta stop this. All right, let me go back. So the thing with that is, right, like people say, we hear it all the time, business is like a roller coaster, right? How did he focus, right? How does he not let all the screaming, the dips and the dive phase him? Because he focused on what matters and he blocked out all the noise, right? That's what we gotta do sometimes, right? Some things are noise, like some of that, like people in your ear or all, you know, like some of that is noise, right? You gotta focus and block some of that stuff out. All right, last is, a lot of people tell me, Nicole, you need to focus on yourself. You need to take care of yourself. You know, your mental health, your emotional health, that's important. And I would always say, like, I got this business to run. I'll deal with me later, right? Like, I gotta work on this. The way I was raised was like, ain't no excuses, right? Like, I can't be like, oh, because this happened, that happened, this is why I am the way that I am. I didn't think that the two things were connected until I started finding myself running up against the same type of issues, you know, attracting the same type of people, right? And I've just started to do that work. And one of the things that I wish that I had done that I would do differently is I would have done that from the beginning, because you are the foundation of your business, right? Who you are, the way, how you react to things, how you interpret things, right? The things that you allow, the things that you know, I have been, in some ways, re-traumatizing myself from some of the things from my past, right? And I unconsciously didn't realize it, right? And I wish that I had started doing this work sooner. So I encourage you, like, growth is not just about money, right? Your emotional growth is more important. It's more important. So that's growth for me. All right. Now that I told y'all all my business, just so you know, we go together now, okay? We first cousins. I need to be invited to all the cookouts. I need a birthday present and a Christmas gift. All right, that's my time. I want to end it with one of my favorite quotes, timeless quotes from Debbie Allen, and a reminder to work hard. There's no surrogate for it.
You got big dreams. You want fame. Well, fame costs. And right here is where you start paying in sweat. I want to see sweat. And the better you are, the more sweat I'm going to demand. So if you never had to fight for anything in your life, put your gloves on and get ready for round one.
That's it.
Coming on the air, and the screams from everywhere. I'm addicted to the girl. It's a dangerous love.
All right, give it up one more time for Nicole Brown. What you want to do? Yep. You can do that one on the end. All right, y'all ready to get into the Q&A? All right, so I want to make the Q&A even deeper, right? Because y'all didn't get to do this yesterday. We're going to bring back up also Kim Lewis. Y'all getting both of them. Come on up, Kim. Which one you want? Both. B-O-A-F. All right. We're about to come to y'all, so yes, you can go ahead and line up. Before we do, Nicole, I got one question for you. Okay. How does it feel to be home?
It feels great.
Oh, yeah, use your mic.
It feels great. I think I mentioned that I haven't been back to a live event since 2020. And I miss the community. I miss the connections, right? It's just like seeing all these beautiful melanated faces and everything. It's great. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for pulling me out of my hermit shell. Yeah, it feels good. Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, we're going to go right over this side.
Hello, Nicole. This is what I'm holding. Let me start with this. I get this box. My name is Spicita Jackson. Hey, Nicole. I am CEO and founder of Exponential CPA, located here in Atlanta, Georgia. We work with entrepreneurs and small business owners, helping you get your business fit. And this conversation has been excellent, Nicole. I have so many copious notes here. So as you were talking, thank you for talking about the financial aspect and being so transparent. We were talking to Marcus Lemonis yesterday from The Prophet, and one of the things that you touched on was talking about making, you made the statement in the beginning, what do you mean? And I said, what do you mean you wasn't prepared for it? And what was that it?
I wasn't prepared for all of the things besides growing. For me, making sales and revenue was easy, and I thought that that's all you need, right? If you're making money, then all your problems, you got no problems. But business problems are because they don't have, they're not bringing enough revenue. I didn't know anything about all of the business sides of things. I didn't know anything about team building, right? The financial aspects of things. I wasn't prepared for, as I grew, the things and the challenges that I was going to face that had nothing to do with that money could not solve, right? Mm-hmm. Processes need to solve, right? Having the right people need to solve, right? I wasn't prepared for that. I thought that because I was making millions, that's all I needed, right? Everything else would fall into place, and it doesn't. It didn't for me. Right.
Well, thank you for that, because I remember the mastermind call when you taught us about systems and how to document and process our systems, and I did it from that day on, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Cecily.
Hi, my name is Cecily Habimana. I'm co-owner. I'm on this.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm co-owner of Sew Creative Lounge. We are the culture keepers of sewing and quilting with a mission of teaching the world to sew one stitch at a time. I remember the last time you were on stage, you were talking about community some years ago. I think it was 2020. And one of the first things I did, first of all, that jumpsuit was cute. You got a little pink jumpsuit. And I love the yellow one you're wearing today.
Lemonade.
Thank you.
Beyonce.
Exactly. But one of the first things when I left there is opened up my Facebook group. And I remember going into your Facebook group like, okay, what is she talking about? So it was like a really guiding point in my business, just starting off and building community. And as I go and I spoke on the panel at the Six Figure Award last time, just talking about how I built community, and I just remember you being so instrumental in that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I was like,
yeah.
you had a question?
Yeah, so I was just waiting for her to. Yeah, so
No,
my
you go ahead,
question is, you talked about apps that help you for forecasting. Can you talk specifically what some of the apps are?
So I actually use my 3PL systems, right? I have not used an outside one, so most of my warehouses, they have like they've had their own proprietary systems, and I've used their systems. But I know that like there are Shopify apps, I think like maybe NetSuite is one. There's a lot of ones I can't recommend because I have not used them. I use my warehouse's systems.
Yeah.
But
Don't use NetSuite.
Don't use NetSuite?
Don't use NetSuite. It's like $40,000 or $50,000 a year.
Oh.
And it takes forever to set up. Most people
Okay.
take 2 years to get it right. And then by that time you spend $100,000 and didn't know any forecasting. That's all. I made the mistake for y'all. Don't do it.
Then do you have any
You
recommendations?
got something you use, Kim?
Yeah.
So what I've learned Nicole and I have different businesses. So I have a product-based business and I manufacture. So I need an enterprise. The importance of having proper inventory is so you have proper accounting, because when you go to a bank to get a loan, if you don't have your assets and liabilities accurate, let's say you're carrying a bunch of inventory but it's not recognized on your actual balance sheet, you won't be able to get as much money as you might have been able to get because you don't have your assets properly recorded. And so Nicole uses a fulfillment center because she has like, how many SKUs do you have, Nicole?
Over 1,000 SKUs.
1,000 SKUs. Everybody know what a SKU is? Raise your hand if you don't know what a SKU is. Okay.
Tell them anyway, yeah.
A SKU is a stock keeping unit. Basically, it's like how many types of items do you have in your store? I do products, so I have maybe like 150 SKUs. But for me, I manufacture. So I may have like 400 ingredients that I need to keep up with. So we need different systems. I need an enterprise resource planning system that is gonna track the motion of my raw materials. Because that's where a lot of my accounting may be, a little funny, because it's like, oh, we need to be able to track how much guar gum is in a bottle of, moisturizer, or how much water is in that bottle, and how much it costs me for each ingredient. So we're implementing something called Valdata. Is it Valdata? I can't remember the name of it. But it's like a manufacturing system. But there are systems in Shopify, they're like $25 a month for like those forecasting apps that you can use. I recommend those. They're just a little bit more manual to get them up and running. There are other systems that are more sophisticated that Nicole would use, but they might be like thousands a year. So I don't want to recommend it. I think you should go have a call with 4 or 5 different vendors, have them walk you through the process, ask them for a 3-month free trial, because you don't want to set it up and then hate it, and then you're stuck with it for the next 2 or 3 years. And then you have to go get a new system that you maybe like more, but now you're paying for the old one because you're in a contract with the other one.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Hey, y'all, as we approach the mic, too, if you could, quick introduction, and then real quick, direct to the question so we can get as many people as possible. Angela.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi, Kim.
Angela, stay focused.
I'm trying, but I think it's unfair of you to put both of them on the stage at the same time. I have deep questions for both.
Look, there's a lot of star power up here, but stay focused, people.
My name is Angela Hawkins, owner and founder of Bamboo. Bamboo is a sleep company. We offer you products to get the rest you need so you can live the lives you want. Nicole, I need to know who that author was that stuck you on the books. What's her name?
I'm not going to reveal it.
I'm kidding. All right, so I know Cecily just asked you a question about your inventory actual app or system. I want to know about your systems that you created in-house to let your teams know how you're going to move through inventory. My goal is to change my inventory system so that I'm moving through things 90 days at a time. And right now, I don't have a process for that, even though I can get the best system in the world to run the back end. I want to know, how did you structure the front end to say, team, this is how we work through our inventory, and when it gets to this point, it moves to this queue, and then it goes on this discount. Like, do you have that kind of system laid out?
So there's different stages, right? So I have a buyer who also is a planner, and so her job is to be looking at those numbers and that data, and then she does a report every week, like these are our slow sellers, these are our fast sellers, these are the things that we're about to sell out of that we might want to replenish, right? And so that's how I make decisions on what to purchase, but also decisions on like what I need to sell, do clearance on, that type of thing. Okay. In terms of so I order for my box, so my subscribers rate is what dictates how much I order, right? But when I first started, I think I mentioned that I was purchasing for future boxes based on what my goal was. Now I have enough years that we see like what our trends are. We know there's certain months like January, people skip a lot, right? Because they've just come off of the holidays. We're better at predicting like our churn rate, like how many people we're gonna lose every month. We also look at like, okay, how many, like are we running a lot of ads? Are we bringing in new customers? Are they replacing people who are churning? If they're not, then we lower our numbers, right? So it's a weekly thing. And it depends on what we're purchasing and why. I don't know if that answers it.
I mean, the first thing you said about having a planner makes a difference. Like you had talked about before, having those people in the right positions at the right times makes the whole difference. For me to try to create a process, for me to do it myself doesn't make sense. I need to get somebody to do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You got something?
Yeah, I just want to add, many of us, the people that you're hiring, if they're reporting directly to you as a CEO, they should be producing reports or some kind of KPIs on a weekly basis. And depending on how important their job is, like if it's ad management, a daily basis. I have Excel documents that I built for them that I don't share, so don't ask. But I have KPI reports that I built for them. And basically, they're responsible for telling me, okay, what was the daily, how many orders are in the queue? Or what are we low on inventory? But you should be getting reports from your team members if they're reporting directly to you.
Thank you. And Kim, we'll talk about financing later because I have more questions.
Ashley.
Hello, my name is Ashley Kirkwood. Thanks guys. I run a company called Speak Your Way to Cash. We help speakers, experts, and authors license their brilliance, book more stages, and sell their services using the most powerful sales tool on the planet, which is speaking. My question is, what were some of the questions or core competencies you tested for when hiring an operations manager or whatever the similar title is for that position in your company that showed you their competence?
Okay, so I didn't do a good job at this at the beginning, as I said. But I have an operations manager and I have a marketing manager. And both of those were given scenario questions. And they were scenario questions that were actually things that had happened in my business and seeing how they answered. So like this, so such and such thing happens, like how are you going to address it? Like what are you going to do to address it? And they wrote their answers, right? So I can read what their answers were, and seeing how they responded let me know like how much they really know, like if it's surface answers, right? Or if it was like, okay, this person, like they wouldn't say X, Y, Z if they didn't really know it or hadn't done it, right? So that's one of the main things that I've done. But I wasn't always doing that, and because I didn't do it, I made lots of mistakes.
I ask people their openness to change. So I've had people the people I end up having to fire, or the people who quit, is they don't like how quickly things change. And the people who are operations, the best operations managers I've had can figure out any problem, and they will figure out options before they come to me with the problem. The people who are not good with that stress management and that change, they don't make the best operations operations managers, and they really should be doing something that's maybe more singular, maybe more entry level. Now, my chief of staff, she was an executive assistant for 20 years, but I honestly feel like she could be a COO because she thinks of worst case scenarios for everything. And then worst case scenario, if this happened, then we should do this. If this happens, then we should do this. And her mind goes there. I never go there. I'm always thinking best case, mid case, you know? And I think she'd be an excellent operations manager, but again, she is thinking through the worst case of every scenario, and most entrepreneurs never do that. And that's great because you have to have that blind optimism, but she doesn't. So if cash is low in the bank, Kim, the cash is low, what are we gonna do? Well, she's like, we could do this and this and this and this, but that wouldn't work, but this, this, and this, and this. Now, sometimes those people are annoying to work with because they're always telling you like the worst option. But you have to give them a frame of when they can present those worst options to you. Just like, okay, what do you think about this? You know, but maybe every call isn't to go over worst case scenario. So I would just look for people who are, ask them, how do they manage stress? Tell me about a job where they changed often. How do you feel about that job? Are you okay with the job that does that? Do you hate that kind of job? And then I would ask them to think through one of Nicole's problems and give you worst case, 3 different options for worst case scenarios.
Okay, awesome.
All right. And
Thank you.
if y'all could let me know if we have any questions from the online virtual lounge experience. Just let me know. Pull up, let me know. I'd love to come there. So while waiting on that, we'll come back to this side.
Good morning. My name is Angela Black. I'm the customer service queen. People pay me to turn their angry customers into repeat customers, to create customer service SOPs for them, and to create strategies that increase customer retention and referrals.
And she good too, y'all. She the truth. Mastermind, ain't she the truth? She the truth.
Thank you. So my question is around customer retention. I have quite a few clients that are e-commerce, product-based businesses that are growing pretty quickly. And right now, they're really in the throes of keeping up with their fulfillment and just trying to keep those customers happy as they're coming in the door. When it comes to customer retention, what advice would you give to a growing product-based e-commerce business? What would you have done differently and earlier on to increase customer retention and reduce churn?
I actually have a good customer retention rate, and I think that the reason for that is because I've always led with like, what is the value that I can give my customer? How can I serve them better, right? And it's not that the customer's always right, but like that's where the money is, right? And so you've got to listen to them, and everything that you do needs to be to delight them and to make sure that they are seen and that they feel heard, right? If they have a problem or issue, sometimes people just want to vent, right? And they just want to like know that they're heard and that you understand where they're coming from, right? And maybe you can't give them like the full-on solution that they want, but you can give them something, right? And so that, and then community has been a big factor in that, because when they have each other and they, commune with each other, sometimes your customers become like advocates for you as well. And then the more that they're connected to each other, then they stay, because not only are they connected to you and your brand, but they're also connected to other people that are connected to your brand, right? And it becomes a part of like their almost everyday life. I don't know if that answers your question, but
would you, because you mentioned churn a couple of times when you were speaking, and you said at one point you didn't know what churn was.
Yes.
So what would you have done earlier on to reduce that churn?
I think number one, because I didn't know what that was, right, until it started happening, I would have hired people who knew about that. Like I would have hired like marketing strategists, CMO, people like that who would have already known that and would have been looking for that and planning for that. The things that I do to reduce churn are some of the things that I just said, right? It's about like, serving your customer, giving them value, listening to them, making changes, right? Like, so for example, I think I mentioned that we would give like different jewelry in boxes, and I didn't know that that was something that my customers really didn't like from me, right? So paying attention to that, really looking at like what is it that they want, and not just giving them what you think that they want, right? So.
Thank you.
If you're an e-com company, you can download the app called Lifetimely, and that is gonna help you even know those KPIs. So what's your 30-day retention rate, 60-day retention rate, 90-day retention rate? And then once you know them, you can see different campaigns that you may have implemented, and if they're successful, almost immediately. Because if people don't repurchase in like 60 days, they're not gonna come back ever. So you wanna do your best to get them to come back for something small, even if it's like $5 in the first 60 days. The other thing that we implemented is like giving people rewards points or VIP points, but I would recommend making sure they fall off within 30 days so they don't hit your books. And if you give them, loss aversion is a really powerful tool. So if they feel like they have something and it's gonna go away in 30 days, they're gonna try to spend it. So that would also increase your retention rate. And that app Lifetime is gonna help you know what a churn, burn, all those different things mean. It'll give you a dashboard.
All right, loyalty program, I forgot about that. That's a good one too.
I want to touch on one thing both of y'all said about that is, because I know both of y'all have strong communities. And I feel like your
Facebook
community,
group.
Yeah, your community, like Nicole said, right, you got advocates on your behalf, where even if somebody's wilding out, a lot of time the community will get them back into shape and get them in order. Yeah. And then the other part I was thinking about that is with community, especially with black business, a lot of times people assume the worst. Even when stuff ain't your fault, they quick to jump in like, I knew.
Right.
I should
That's
never.
why I don't shop with black businesses.
Exactly, right. One time I tried. This is what happened, right? But
You get one of those a month.
I think when you get community too, it does the opposite. They assume the best. So even when something go wrong, it's like, well, this ain't light.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen people say stuff and somebody else will drop in and be like, this is not light TSP. You know, I'm sure. And they'll say, hey, this is the customer service number or this is the email or whatever.
You know, to that point, so that leggings debacle that happened, my customers, like, they were like, oh, we know this is not, like, something happened. Like, they were not mad. They knew that it wasn't us, and they were like, okay, we're just gonna wait, see what Nicole has to say, because we know that this isn't it. And they could have been in an uproar, but they weren't. And they made a joke out of it. They called them Becky leggings, right? That's the community, right?
I also have a YouTube video about how to survey your customers in detail. Because I think a lot of us think that, oh, we'll just send them like a quick 10-question survey, but there's another way. It needs to go much deeper than that. So I would check it out.
What's the YouTube?
Kim Lewis, CEO. And if you go to my Instagram, you can click through to the YouTube.
Cool.
Thank you.
Right. From the online virtual lounge experience, for Nicole, right, you 10X in 2016 and went from 50K to 500K. What happened in the business to cause that giant step in revenue?
I didn't have a subscription box in that year. I was actually doing print on demand that year. And so I had taught myself Facebook ads. And so the ads were working well for me. I had t-shirts that people were sharing and they were, they started working. So that's really what it was. It was the Facebook ads and the word of mouth. And I was doing print on demand. So I didn't have inventory in 2016. Yeah.
All right, nice. All right, is that Savania?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Savania DeBurrows, also known
Can you
as...
speak it to the mic a little closer?
Yes. I'm Savania DeBurrows, also known as the protector of athletes. I own a law practice that supports athletes and entrepreneurs, and they pay me to help them increase their business profits through legal protection, things such as trademarks, contracts, and trial support. So, Nicole, you shared a lot of perils of business, and sometimes we don't want to share failures because it may seem like a weakness, but we can learn so much from it. And what I got from that is that you had a lot of costs because you didn't have counsel. So do you know what the full aggregate cost, even including the products and all the things that you did share, but when you brought in counsel, what that was? But can both of you share the mindset that you may have had that kept you from hiring counsel earlier on?
Well, my mindset, what kept me from hiring counsel early on was, number one, I had done so much on my own. So maybe it was some arrogance, right? Like, I've done this much on my own. I've gotten this far on my own, so maybe I don't need it. Also just like, I said it, like I had a fear of like managing people. I had a fear of having like a high payroll. And so those were the things that kept me from doing that. And then also too, like, I actually did think that your first hire should be like an assistant, right? Somebody who can do admin tasks. I did actually think that made sense, that those were the things that, those are the things I don't like to do, so those are the first thing I want off my plate. And so it was really just not knowing, not thinking ahead of what my needs are. I was thinking about like what I needed and I wanted in that particular moment.
Okay. I just think me and Nicole are on opposite ends of the spectrum, and the best business probably would have been right in the middle. Somebody who hired less than me but more than Nicole, raised less than me but more than Nicole. You know what I mean? So I agree with what Nicole
Balance.
said. Right, Lamar, balance.
There we go. All right, thank you. Back to side, yeah.
Hi, my name is Anisha Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of Reflections by Zaina, e-commerce brand that celebrates representation in the workplace. Customers pay us to feel seen and celebrated, and businesses pay us to help elevate their brand with products in e-commerce marketplaces. I'm a student of yours, Nicole. You were the only other competitor I could put down on a SWOT analysis for representation and what I did. When I was building my business, I was like, well, who else is doing what you're doing? Izzy and Liv. That was it. And so as we continue to grow, my question is kind of a futuristic one in a sense that e-commerce has really grown just at its own niche, and a lot of tech has grown with it to support it. And I know starting out, because I was starting at the same point, what we have available to us now, we did not have available to us when you guys started, especially when you talk about the people jobs and KPIs and inventory, et cetera. If you could start over or roll back to now and start right now, knowing the type of innovation that's available for electronic shopping, what 3 things would you do differently?
I don't know, that's a tough one. You mean like what type of apps or services?
Yeah, so when you talk about hiring quickly and hiring to strength, I know, like Kim mentioned, there's a lot of tech that can take space of people. And when you strap for cash, there are ways around, direct hiring certain individuals. So like if you're a small bootstrapping company, what maybe 3 tools, I'll say that, would be integral in place of just, straight out hiring? Or what categories?
I don't know the answer to that one. I'm sorry, I don't know. I mean, tools that I use, I don't use like HR tools. That's the question? I use Gusto. I use Monday.com. I use my warehouse's inventory management system. I'm trying to think like what other tools. I will say, like, when I first started out, like, Shopify especially has so many apps. I was like the app queen, and any app that I saw, I would install it, and hoping that that's the thing that's gonna like increase my do this, do that, do this, do that, right? And I found that a lot of those things can be a distraction. Okay. Like sometimes, like the basics. That's what, right? Like some of those things, these bells and whistles are not, it's just a money suck, right? But I can't really, I don't know of any specific HR ones. Maybe, Delmar, other HR people that are here could just point you in the right direction for that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't know, Kim, if you have a
So, was this an HR question or a sales question or a fulfillment and inventory question? Or, because there are different apps for the different things.
I guess it's more an operations question. A business like,
because for me, like if I didn't want to hire someone, the apps I would use are not necessarily HR focused. Because you only need HR apps if you got people, typically. Or like a Monday is only valuable if somebody's looking at it. You know what I'm saying? So when you think apps like that, I think Klaviyo, I think Attention for SMS, I think Lifetimely for managing that. I think some kind of course to teach me Facebook ads, course to teach me email marketing. Like all of my stuff would have been sales.
Yeah, so that was my question more so around.
That's more sales. That's not quite operations. Operations would have been more like Monday, teamwork, those kind of apps. But do you have any employees or people on your team?
Yes, my husband, my children. No external.
Gotcha. Okay, no problem.
Nobody outside of the family.
Ship station, you know what I mean, for shipping things.
No, we fulfill ourselves or we drop ship.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say at this point, until you kind of get to the point where your sales are hurt, by you being in the business, I would just focus on the sales.
That's sales. Thank you.
Cool, and it's gonna be, sorry folks, our last question, Aisha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha Taylor Issa, founder and CEO of the Sisters in Business Expo. We're the country's only multi-city small business expo and community created to celebrate entrepreneur women of color and owners of the Sister Shop, the retail and e-commerce destination that features the brands of over 150 Black women entrepreneurs.
Awesome.
Thank you. Nicole, you mentioned a period where you hit a cash flow issue, challenge, and you had to run through your savings. Was there any specific things that you did to recover from that or to get out of that rut?
Very, very strict budgets, mapping out every single expense in my business, current and future, by week, right? And seeing exactly like what needs to go out when, and then prioritizing things to preserve as much cash as I could. Cutting a lot of expenses. I had a lot of waste, right? So I would buy things, spend money on this, spend money on that in the business, and not think about like, because I just thought I was always going to have cash coming in, right? And then finding, I'm not a money person, right? I was a journalism and English major. So finding people to also help with that. Negotiating better terms with my vendors, and yeah, mainly those things, like just really knowing every single penny that's coming in and out of your business, and watching that like a hawk and making your decisions and prioritizing based on that. Yeah.
How many people look at their P&L weekly? Raise your hand. Yeah. You will learn how to save a lot more money if you are looking at how much you're spending on your P&L every single week. Oh, you can clap. I got a couple claps. Thank you. I learned that lesson way too late.
That was Ephraim.
That was Ephraim. Oh, I'm about to not my accountant out there like clapping. Yes. I didn't, and I don't know Nicole, when did you hire like an accountant, like to like help you with your?
I had an accountant in the beginning, but they were just for filing taxes. I didn't know that like they need to have different experts. Like there are accountants that do all the things, but my accountant didn't do all the things.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the other things were. So I thought I was good. I had a bookkeeper, but she was very limited in things that she did, right? And I didn't know that I needed more than that, and they didn't tell me either. So
because they didn't know, probably.
Maybe, or they didn't want to be replaced.
Right, exactly. So shout out to EFS Accounting. I feel like they have saved me because I hired a friend of mine. And she was dope. She was like smartest student in her class, top of the class at a #2 accounting school in the country. And while she was an excellent individual accountant, because I did so many complicated things such as manufacturing. So Cecily, you make clothes, like that is hard to account for, making products, and I had a digital team, and we were doing e-commerce, and so it would just require one person couldn't do all of my accounting, and then that's aside from the taxes and the sales tax, and the payroll tax, so I needed people who knew a lot of different things, which ended up being multiple people. And so what I wish I had done sooner is have a meeting with my accountant every single week to review my P&L from the week before. And that wasn't gonna be like no $5,000 a month accounting.
She right there.
Okay.
This week.
That taught me, okay, what is this? Wait, why are we spending, $100 on this video software? Or who bought that? Or why is Amazon, we spent $10,000 on Amazon last week? Like, what were y'all buying, Or why is payroll, a few $1,000s higher? Oh, everybody worked overtime? I didn't know that. Like, and then it's like, why were y'all working overtime? And then it's like, oh, so-and-so messed up the orders. They packed 200 of the wrong orders, so we had to unpack them all and repack them. Oh, nobody told me that. So, like, your accounting tells the story of your business, especially when your team grows. If you don't know all the things that's going wrong, but it always shows up on the P&L. And you become a better CEO when you learn how to read P&L, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of us like to be like, well, yes, you're supposed to be, going live and be the face and da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, you are the one controlling that P&L. And if you don't make the proper decisions in your business, it's going to be a can of worms. So I recommend hiring a really good accounting team As soon as you hit $1 million, maybe before, maybe 500,000, because I had a ton of cleanup to do when I didn't do that. So.
Cool.
That was excellent. Thank you so much.
Hey, real quick, right, before we wrap, could y'all tell them how they can find you online just to make sure they can follow you, get y'all nuggets, get information, support your brand?
Oh, thank you for the plug, Lamar. I appreciate that. Kim Lewis CEO on Instagram, KIMLEWIS CEO, or .com, KimLewisCEO.com.
I'm very quiet on Instagram, but Nicole W. Brown. And you can find me on Facebook, and my brand is Izzy and Liv. I told y'all I'm an introvert, so I don't do a lot of online stuff like that. But you can follow me.
So you can follow me. You're going to see nothing there. You can follow me, just in case.
You're going to see much. You're going to see a lot of posts.
All right, y'all, give it up one more time for Nicole Brown.